And a very good evening. Welcome. It is episode 44 of the ProSynth Network show, and we are live, and it's Friday, and I feel weird. I've just had my dinner. Normally it's like a few hours ago, and I've got wine, but I haven't got wine because it's too early on a Friday night. So to accompany me with this weirdness is Ben and Cryss. Hello, gentlemen.
Hello.
How are you? Does this feel strange?
Yeah, it feels very weird. I don't know why. It's just like... It's like we're doing our first show.
I know. Yeah. But I can tell you one thing. We've got a healthy number of viewers, so it doesn't seem to have put anybody off yet. Fingers crossed. We might get some more. You never know. So yeah, if this is your first time watching us, or if you are a regular viewer, welcome. And this is the ProSynth Network show, where we talk about all things kind of music tech and synthesizer related. There's myself, Ben Simpson, and Cryss Synthient, and of course everyone in the chat room. You are all very, very welcome. Let's run through some names here. So we've got Mac, we've got Asio Head, Sasquatch, Tim Grogan, Andrew Brooks, Aaron is in there as Imperfect, and Martin Taylor, Patrick 80s Man is in there, Synth Addict, Ros Gray 801, Keith in Watford, Torsten's here, Sasquatch is here, Jupiter Boy 74, Paul Artola, Brian's in there as well. I could go on, but thank you, guys and girls, for turning up in your masses. It was one of the things we were a little bit worried about, that you might all like desert us. Not maybe, because you don't like us, but because maybe Fridays aren't that convenient for you. But we thought, hey, let's give it a go. So let's see how this all goes. As usual, we've got our usual kind of run through the week's news topics in the music technology world. But before we go through all of that, just a reminder, you can join us on our Facebook page if you haven't already. Just search for ProSynth Network on Facebook and answer the questions. You'll get straight in. Coming up a little bit later on, we've got our weekly poll discussion, which is all about software plugins and your favourite free ones. So we'll got some really good tips in there as well. If you are that way inclined, of course, we would welcome any donations that you can make to help keep us going on air. We're going to be using a little bit of that pot of money very soon to do a bit of promotion, so it all helps to get the name out there and obviously deliver a show of hopefully reasonable quality. So if you look in the description underneath this video, there's a clickable link. It's a PayPal donation page. And so let's move on without further ado. And let's go to our first topic of the week. You'd think I'd have this lined up and ready, but I've been so excited. They've changed something on the system here, which I didn't see before. That was different. Anyway, so we're going to start off with this lovely little addition to their software library of that's rapidly growing of software instruments. This is from Cherry Audio. And this is the Polymode synthesizer, which is their version of the classic Moog Polymode, which was this really kind of weird polyphonic synth. It was their first polyphonic synth, if I'm not mistaken. Used kind of string machine divide down technology and had some very weird quirks and stuff. But this has just been released. It is a kind of standalone and plug-in version of the Polymode module that featured in the Cherry Audio's Voltage modular system. It costs at the moment a mere 29 of your US dollars, which is down from 49, although I'm not entirely sure if it's still going. But JRR Shop online, this is Cryss gave me and Ben the heads up on this last night. If you use the code GROUP, GROUP, when you check out there, you get an extra discount, so it takes it even further down. So this is a really good value for money synthesizer. Let's just play a little bit of the demo here. Turn the volume up. So there you go. That's enough of that before we get any kind of copyright hits. I don't think we will. But there you go. Cherry Audio's Polymode. I've got this now. I've been playing around with it, and I've got it loaded up at the moment. And that's all I'll do, because we'll probably get a copyright strike on that one. But of course, the Polymode is probably most famously known for the Vox Humana preset, which came on the later kind of more preset version of the machine, and was so popular, can't even talk, so well used by Mr. Gary Newman. I really like this, guys. I mean, I'm a huge Newman fan, so the Vox Humana sound is worth $29 on its own if it's a good one. What about you guys? What do you think?
Yeah, I'm like you, Robbie. I kind of not a big Newman fan, but obviously I appreciate his work, and this sound is just synonymous with especially his early work. You know, God, I can't think of Telecon and
Pleasure Principle,
replicas,
like all the classic. I'm sorry, I can't equate in my head. You are like a big 80s electronic music fan with a huge, and you don't like Gary Newman. I'm sorry, that does not compute.
No, it's not that I don't like him. I've been like bombarded with him over the years, you know, and it's like,
as you should be. That's how that's how it should be.
I need a bit of a Newman break, like, but yeah, he's very, very influential, and that early sound, I'm not too keen on his. I always think it's weird how he's influenced Nine Inch Nails, and then Nine Inch Nails have then gone on to influence Gary Newman. It's kind of an infinite loop, but yeah, and this synth is that Polymode, Vox Humana sound. It's got that perfect. I just wish I had it a couple of weeks ago when I was working on some Newman tracks with the band.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah,
they've really captured the sound.
Cryss, how about you? Have you had a chance to play around with it yet?
Just shortly, just presets. I haven't made anything myself. I've kind of got mixed feelings about it. Just first right off, some of the great stuff is the price. It was $24 American on the JRR shop. So, I mean, the price is definitely right on these Cherry Audio synthesizers. I'm not terribly familiar with the Polymode. I've watched a few things on it, and it's never struck me as one of my favorite synthesizer sounds. But it is one of the least modeled ones. And I didn't think I had one until I was demoing it. And then it popped into my head that Syntronic also has some Polymode stuff in there.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's a quirky one. It's a real quirky one. I'm not the biggest fan of... I've resolved to... I've resolved to the fact that I'm the Simon Cowell of our group, and... we'll scowl about everything. So, mind you, these are only as far as my own use, and I'm not, just crapping on everybody's favorite synthesizer or anything. It's just not for me. But I will give it some more time and play around with it, because I think it is capable of some really unique sounds with the way the filter and resonator architecture is. In fact, Cherry Audio has another video that's not about this, but about their... what's their modular one? Voltage modular or
Voltage,
whatever it is.
Yeah, Voltage.
Yeah, so they have a module of that, and they have a longer video that talks pretty in depth about the architecture of the Polymode, and I thought that was a really cool video for them to do.
Yeah, it certainly looks like this is the same engine just dressed up now in a thing. So let's just bring up the screen here. So this is the this is live running in the background of my my machine here. Now somebody asked in the chat room, I can't find it now. Does it have the Stone phaser? Well, it has a phaser. It has a bunch of effects down here. There's an ensemble and a phaser and an echo, reverb, and then of course you've got the two modulator LFOs there and the two oscillators that will rank 1 and rank 2 as they're called. It's a very oddly configured thing, but I guess it was a very old thing. And I was reading on there's a website for Polymode owners. I forget the name. I should have really brought this up. Dub something or other. And there's some really great history about this machine on there. I've got the Apollo as well, which is the UVI Apollo library, which the Apollo was like a prototype, I believe. But there's the whole history of the Polymode is very kind of mysterious and chaotic and all over the place. And ultimately it failed. But it has kind of been cemented in history with a few of those sounds. And of course, there is Exil's Labs Poly M, which I haven't tried because Jupiter Boy is asking in the chat room, how does it shape up to that? Can't tell you, mate. Unfortunately, I don't have that. What I can tell you is that the Exil's Labs is $130 more expensive. So in that respect, this wins hands down.
From the demos, it sounds a bit fatter and warmer than this one, but this is only 18 quid I think we paid for it at the minute.
That's right. I mean, with that code, yeah.
And I've been mixing it with certain effects today, and it sounds good. It is good.
Yeah.
How accurate it is, I'm not sure, but it sounds good.
A couple tips that worked well for me. Same thing, Ben. The reverb on it is not very good, and so I would turn the reverb off. And then even if you grab yourself something like Valhalla Supermassive that's free, or you have some other favorite reverb, try it with another reverb plugin, and you'll really enjoy it. And then the other thing I did is I find Cherry Audio. I have the Surrealistic MG1, which is a cool little synth. I like playing that one, but sometimes their modeling is like too clean. And so if you run it with a saturator, just slightly saturating, nothing too intense, nothing approaching distortion, but something that just dirties it up ever so much, and then you run it into another reverb, either of those, it really sounds good and it fattens it up pretty nicely.
Yeah. I know some people have said that it doesn't quite sound like the original, and there was a long discussion on our page. I wasn't trying to be antagonistic. I was just trying to understand what people were comparing, it with. And I think it's completely futile to try and compare an instrument, a raw instrument, with what you hear on a record, because it's gone through so much. Whether it's processing in the studio or the carrier format, whether it's MP3 or WAV or vinyl or tape or whatever, it's a futile experience. So. I've never been in the presence of a Polymode, I don't think. Actually, no, I think I have at a show once. There was one on display. Never spent any time with it. I just know it from the various records and stuff and the samples I was very lucky to acquire. There was a guy that we worked with, Hollow Sun, who had one in for a while, and before he got rid of it, he sampled everything, all the presets out of it, and gave them to us. And so I have some really good direct output presets of that, and this stands up pretty well. And for 18 quid, 20 odd bucks, it's a no-brainer. Yeah. So there you go. If you want to buy that or demo it, because you do get a 30-day demo, and what happens is every now and again you get this very soft white noise. We were talking about this pre-show, that it's a very subtle white noise that comes in. It's not it's just like that makes any sense. 30 days free, and then you just buy the license after that. And they've got some really good stuff. A lot of people talk very highly of their 106 clone, and of course there's the free MG1 realistic clone in there as well. So yeah, they're certainly. I wouldn't be at all surprised if maybe at the end of the year we'll see a suite of instruments, and they'll be selling it as a package of VSTs, and it's kind of an alternative like V Collection or something like that, which is very nice.
Yeah.
One of them that I saw, they have a handful of very nice vintage synthesizers when they do their videos, so sitting behind them, and they've got even a Polymars or a ProMars, sorry, Poly everything. Like we were having that discussion earlier. Everything's Poly, but a Roland ProMars back there, which is a very good sounding synthesizer.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see some good stuff coming from them. Talking of new things, here's something else that's new from across the English Channel, or Le Mange, as they say in France. Just got to find the right link for it now. This is from UVI, and it is called the 8-bit Synth. Here we go. Here's the page. Right, so 8-bit Synth, and it's just a sample library collection of 8-bit sounds. So if this is really your bag, and I know that there is a big scene around kind of chiptune and 8-bit stuff, and lots of people really go for it. Doesn't float my boat at all. These are all of the 8-bit sounds, and I believe they're also included in Toy Suite, which is their larger kind of toy sample library. But this is only €59. It's down at the moment from 99, and just includes a whole bunch of these kinds of sounds. Let's play some of these, give you an idea. So I'm not quite sure why UVI always have to end up doing like a dubsteppy type demo with everything that they do. It's kind of been and gone, that thing. But however, I think what they're trying to say is, look, we can use this in modern music. It's a really nice little kind of collection of sounds, if that's what you want to go for, and it's got a really very cool little interface, as we can see here on the screen. Guys, I mean, I've listened to this. It's good at what it does, but it just doesn't do it for me. I know there's some other people in the chat room that were saying, for example, Tim Grogan, please, the chiptune thing, God deliver us. It doesn't do it for me. Maybe it's because I'm of that age where I grew up playing the video games that this style of music, and back then it was like, wow. But we've moved on, and why people want to go back and revisit, I just don't know. But
I think what people forget there is, at the time, it wasn't supposed to sound odd. It was an attempt at sounding accurate, and these weird odd sounds were supposed to be xylophones, and they were supposed to be other percussion elements. So the fact that it sounded like, I don't know, like a robot, it was accidental, and I think that is a problem for our age group, because we kind of hear it as a poor version of something, and not a new version, and I think that it could be useful in some ways. I wouldn't like to do. I mean, that demo that was at the bottom of the page then, I don't know if you can play a bit of that, but that is absolutely awesome.
Oh, the Louis Coker one?
Yeah,
Let's see.
It's fantastic.
Does it get better?
Yeah.
I have to say that there are qualities to it. It certainly pushes the nostalgia button. I think, oh yeah, I remember that. But whole tunes made out of this stuff really kind of they just grate me.
Yeah.
But I have heard some really good songs where you just hear something there in the background. You think, oh, that's clever. They've used something like that, and. I know that the SID chip, from the Commodore 64 gets a whole ton of love, and obviously there have been machines since then that have exploited it and taken it into places where the Commodore 64 never could go with it, and that's interesting because they're doing something new. But just going back to it, Cryss, what do you think? Are you kind of into that retro? I'm guessing not.
Yeah. So it does make me very nostalgic for the old video games, Atari, Commodore, all the way up to the NES. And it's fun. I actually really like the sound examples that you did at the end that sounded like they came from a Nintendo video game.
Yeah.
And I don't think I would ever compose music like that, but it does get me in a certain mood and nostalgia.
Yeah.
Like I feel like playing playing some Dragon Warrior or Zelda or something again. For these chiptune synthesizers, they don't usually appeal to me. This one I thought sounded pretty good. I wouldn't want to make some dubstep with it or anything like they did.
Yeah.
But I think it could have its uses. Although, like I said, the hard part is that this one seems to sound, of the chiptune synthesizers that I've heard, I thought this one is probably the best one that I've heard.
Yeah.
The bummer is that it's samples, and so you got to load up your hard drive with it instead of just having an instrument that does it by CPU.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, I would probably pass on it, but I have to hand it to them. They did a good job on the sounds of this one.
Yeah. Absolutely. Asia says, I do like Rob Hubbard's Commando. And yeah, I remember that. It was a great game. Rob Hubbard was a legend in that kind of game music world back in the day. Cheeky from Aaron here. Wait, Robbie can't stand chiptunes but loves FM. Well, the thing is, the FM stuff didn't come till later. The FM chips were in like the Mega Drives and the Sega Saturns and so on. So and I was too old. No, I wasn't too old. I lie. I've got all of those machines downstairs.
Plug Aaron for a moment because he did an album of video game style music.
Oh yes,
too.
Yes he did. Yes, I take everything back. No, I don't really. Aaron's stuff was good. I think Ben, you said this during the week. Jamie's just brought this up in the chat room. Hold on, didn't Chiptune win the Spitfire audio competition? And I think Ben's quote earlier in the week was, "Great, I'm off to enter a Spitfire competition now." And here you go. I mean, they've clearly...
It was Cryss. It was Cryss that.
Oh, it was Cryss that said that, was it? Oh, sorry, I get them out. But yeah, I mean, it's true. The world lost its collective... Well, certainly the synth world lost its collective mind when the chiptune version of the song, or the soundtrack to that clip from, was it Westworld? Yeah. Won, and everyone was like, "Oh, how could he do that?" But there you go. It's true. It is very true. Anyway, anything else on that one? Are we done with that?
I'm quite interested in the idea of mixing that in with like ordinary music. I don't mean ordinary as if it is and it's boring, but like normal music and not chiptune music. There was elements of that demo where it was like mid-range filtered sequencing, and because of the gravelly nature of the low quality in that, it just had something like it had like almost like a guitar quality what that gives to a track. It was kind of like a rough percussive feel, and I think there could be space for that, especially in the music I do.
Yeah.
It's whether
not taking anything away from not taking anything away from the genre, but it's a good tool to have, I guess, for 49.
Yeah, one thing to mention is some of those composers for video games. I mean, to try to work with those tools to make interesting music, and I still think probably my favorite of the old video game music was the ending sequence of Metroid on Nintendo. The original Nintendo was a fantastically composed song, really a great song.
Yeah,
I'm just going to try and find out while we're talking, because one of my favourite games of the era, which I think was about 87. That's it. It was a game called Whizball, and it was produced by Ocean, and it was big. I think it was mainly Commodore 64, and then I think they ported it to the far inferior ZX Spectrum. Oh, that could get some people's backs up. But it was Martin Galway, and he was up there with the likes of Rob Hubbard, and the music in that is just brilliant. And again, this is a SID chip. It's 3 channels of audio and a limited sonic palette, and yet clever programming. It just, if anything ever proved that restrictions flourish or make creativity flourish, that was it. And it's just, there's some amazing.
That's the thing that you don't really consider with these like early video game soundtrack composers, is that every part that they did, they had to make the sound before they played it in. Because there were no like banks of presets to pull from. Everything had to be like bespoke for the part, didn't it?
The thing I remember, because my first sequencer was an application called Electro Sound on the Commodore 64, and it was a 3-track sequencer because you had the 3 voices of the SID chip, and so you could have 3-note chords. But obviously, if you wanted something with a drum track in there, you had to drop out. If there was notes going on, so you had to drop out a note of the chord, or you had to drop out this little bit of the rhythm, or whatever. And so what it made you do is it really made you think about how to program stuff, what you could afford to drop out and what you could afford to leave in. And it was, I remember doing my greatest accomplishment, and I wish I had a version of it just to hear how horrible it probably is, but I did a cover version of Depeche Mode's Stripped, I think it was, minus the engine starting bit at the beginning, and I did that on there, and I was so proud that I did a whole version of that, and it probably sounded awful, but at the time it was just like, I am God, I can do this. Yeah. But that was my way in, so...
It was a bit like that with the Amiga as well, with the tracking software. You used to have to, like, you try and make a chord out of a combination of tracks and taking out a hi-hat here and there.
Yeah, sorry, or some of them you just use really fast arpeggios to imply a chord. It's like 1 through 5, 1 through 5, but so fast that it sounds...
Arpeggios were the thing, weren't they?
Yeah.
There were some games where it was just arpeggio to hell, but it kind of worked, like you say. It got around that kind of limitation. But yeah, so there you go. Sorry.
I was just going to say, like, some of the video game soundtracks I remember as being good was all the ones by the Bitmap brothers, like Speedball, and then there was a sensible game. So like they always had like
Sensi Soccer,
sense of humour in theirs. Didn't they? And Team 17 as well. There was I'm sure his name was like Alistair Brimble or something like that. And he did some great for the Amiga, seeing as it was basically produced on a tracker. Yeah. So what he was achieving back then with that.
Oh yeah, some very awesome. Very clever people. I was a big fan of Andrew Braybrook as a games program. He did games like Paradroid and Iridium and stuff like that. And then there was the other one. Oh yeah, Rob Hubbard, and was it Attack of the Mutant Camels and all that, and the Lawnmowers game. Do you remember those?
Oh,
some classics, absolute classics.
Yeah, I remember that Camels thing. Yeah.
Yeah. But then the one that I always kind of go back to is Manic Miner and Jet Set Willy. They were the ones that I was like, wow, these are incredible. Anyway, we're getting all nostalgic here. But if you want, you can get 8-bit synth from UVI's own website, uvi.net. It's currently €59. I think I might have said 49. It's 59, down from 99. It does form part of their larger toy suite, but it looks like they're kind of breaking out some of the bits there. But some of the bits, do you see what I did there? So there you go. That is that. Let's move on to something else.
I don't think Ben's ready.
Sorry
to interrupt your high score there. So how about we do this one? This kind of gets my award for the expansion library that nobody ever seemed to be asking for. Oh, he's quite very good. So this is from Toontrack. Now, I'm a big Toontrack fan. I'm a big SD3 user. And I have a number of expansion packs for that. This is their new Easy Drummer expansion pack, which is also usable on Superior Drummer. This is the Electronic Edge EasyX pack for Easy Drummer 2. And it features just basically lots of electronic pad-based sounds, rhythm sounds and patches. And I just really don't quite get this. I don't know. Maybe again, it's one of those things. It's only €75, and you're getting something in the region of 30 unique kits, 57 kicks, 49 snares, broad range of toms, rims, effect sounds, risers, cymbals, and more. More than 370 individually engineered source sounds. Includes a melodic section of chromatic instruments, ideal for beat making in any facet of electronic and modern music production. Personally, I would like to see them do more decent acoustic kits at an affordable price. But there you go. Cryss, do you fancy this one?
Yeah, I'm trying to decide. So, like you, I'm a big Toontrack fan. I use EZdrummer too, and I've really enjoyed it. It's made life a lot easier. I have quite a few of the expansions, and it gets, as I said, gets regular use along with Logic Drummer. I've been saying for a while that I want them to release more electronic sounding packs, because they've had some kind of hit and misses. I really like Dream Pop, but their other electronic one I didn't really care for. Mm-hmm. I think they might have two others, I don't remember. And so I was very excited to see this. When the sounds came out on this, everything is very distorted.
All right.
Yeah, like part of their processing. And I know they contract with people to do the recordings that are like producers of those genres. And so, I mean, Toontrack, if you guys don't know, are largely like a metal genre type company. I mean, the people that run the company themselves are really into metal, and you'll see like half the packs are for metal drums and things like that. But I've been hoping that they would do more. The Dream Pop one was very good. This one, I'm curious to hear like what it sounds like without a lot of the effects processing on it. I felt like there was a lot of like novel sounds, which wouldn't be that interesting to me. I want to hear what the bread and butter sounds like, because I'm worried about, their silly little melodic things that happen in tracks being something like digital native dance, where you've used it on a couple songs and like, oh, okay, we've heard that sound before. Yeah. And I feel like some of the clips from this were like that. Like, that's already a song. How am I going to build a song out of that drum track?
Yeah,
it's already got everything. So, of course, they're within EZdrummer, and especially, of course, Superior Drummer. You can really change a lot of stuff and mold the sound and the arrangements. Their little track creator is pretty awesome. I really haven't used it enough, but it's a good tool. So I'm thinking about maybe, when the price drops on these, because they'll eventually do sales where it goes down to, I don't remember, like $39 or something. Maybe I'll pick it up at that time.
Unfortunately, that seems to be the only time I pick up the expansion packs is when they go and they do these crazy sales. But unfortunately, they never do the ones I want, like Hansa drums or what was the other one? There was a couple of producers they used. Trying to find the details now, but I mean, they're not ridiculously expensive, but I think there's something like €159 for a Superior Drummer pack, and that's kind of you do get a lot, but then some of the time you think, well, the stock library that comes with Superior Drummer now is huge. I mean, it's come on way beyond Superior Drummer 2. And you get 5.1 miking and everything like that, and it is hugely comprehensive, and it makes my e-drum kit sound just fantastic. It's it's just the player that's rubbish, but it's such a great package, but it's just slightly kind of expensive.
I think it's probably easier with the EZdrummer, no pun intended, but they always release them at the full price, and then if you wait like 6 or months or 10 months or something, then they'll all be on sale, unlike the Superior Drummer.
They do tend to discount the EZdrummer stuff and the less popular Superior Drummer packs, and I suppose it's business, isn't it, at the end of the day? But there you go. It's Electronic Edge. It's an easy pack for EZdrummer 2, and so you can use it with Superior Drummer if you have that. It's only €75 if that's your thing. Crack on.
Hang on.
Go on.
Like, I don't use this, So a lot of what you were saying then didn't make much sense to me. It sounds like this is it's an expansion pack for another piece of software.
Yes.
Right. How much is the host software? Is that expensive?
Let's have a look here. So Easy Drummer 2 is the latest version, and it costs anything between 119 and 155 euros for Easy Drummer.
Right.
Superior Drummer is, I believe, about 300 and something.
Right.
And it was, for me, it was it's between 289 and 379 depending on what you buy with it. But it is worth every penny of that. But it is, it's a proper drum sample tool,
And so then they sell these expansion packs. Right.
Yeah, so you get like a factory pack.
Yeah.
And then you get, you buy the expansions, which give you a variety of different things.
And nice that you can kind of mix and match stuff. So
yeah.
You,
Once
you
you've
might,
got the
you might
libraries
find
in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You might find a really great MIDI track from one of them and use the drum sounds of another, or build your own custom kit.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
That's what a pack is then. It's like patterns and samples.
So with both Superior and Easy Drummer, it's not just sounds that you can then just trigger off a keyboard or pads or kit, but it's also a MIDI groove library. So you get a ton of MIDI patterns, and when you buy one of these packs, or you can buy specific MIDI only packs. So if you just want to build a track from MIDI excerpts, you can then just piece them all together as you see fit.
Right.
And Superior Drummer does that too, with a lot more kind of detail, and then it has its own built-in audio mixer and effects and everything. It really is kind of a one-stop shop. So.
That sounds good.
Yeah. I mean, it's very good. I just think that their pricing leaves a little bit to be desired, but it is great stuff. I mean, it's incredibly detailed and thorough. So there you go. So that's the Electronic Edge from Toontrack, which you can go to toontrack.com and find out more about that one. So let's see. Wrong button. What should we do now? Let's do some hardware news. So as ever, seems to be every week we get something new from the people at Behringer, and this time we've got, if I can find the right link, where did it go? Behringer, where have you? There it is. So they've done another one of these kind of engineer update videos, and this one is for their Solina string ensemble.
Hi everyone, Adam from Behringer, and I'm going to show you the progress we've been doing on our Solina string ensemble.
So clearly a kind of work in progress there from Behringer, but they promised this one a while back. It's kind of a limited sound, limited use, I think. It's not something that you use over everything, but if this if you like string machines, and in particular the Solina, this should be ticking your boxes. What do you think so far of this? Does it float your boat, Ben? This one, are you into your string synths?
I do. I am partial to a bit of Solina. Yeah, get Solina and Shimmer going at the same time. You're laughing, but yeah. It sounds good. That it's a very light sounding version of the Solina sound to me. I think later on in that video he does a comparison between the two.
Yeah, here you go. I'm just trying to find that.
There's a lot more like bottom end.
He shrugs his shoulders like, oh, look how close we got it.
It's clearly different. What's he struggling at?
As promised, we included the small stone phaser too, that is using the exact same circuit as the...
And that's interesting, they're including a small stone phaser effect in there as well. But as you say, when you hear there is a difference. The original sounds a bit warmer. I guess is because it's like 30 odd years old.
Yeah.
So give it a little bit of a chance, but it's ballpark, shall we say?
It's like amazing, really, considering the difference in components in both machines.
Yeah.
That it sounds anywhere near like it.
This is true.
There is a difference. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it sounds good.
Yeah. Cryss?
Yeah, I think it's great. Some things to consider versus the original. Of course, there may be some component drift. Although I don't think the original, the one that they showed, wasn't using carbon comp resistors, so there probably not as much drift in those components.
Yeah.
But when you think about the warmth of it, the original definitely had a warmer bottom end. But I don't know, just thinking about where a Solina string machine would fit into a track, the Behringer one might actually be EQ'd better for it.
Yeah.
And I'd kind of rather start with having to subtract EQ than to add it. So, that it might end up sounding really good for its purpose. I don't think I have enough use for one to buy one. I do have it in a number of plugins already, so I can get by with those. But I think it's a great sound. I love hearing it on classic recordings. Yeah. And the only thing is that I think this Solina one is mono, right? I can't remember.
No, I don't remember.
I know that the phaser would be mono, but I'm thinking about that ensemble chorus. And that would be interesting I always like to take it and play it into more of a stereo chorus. Something like Tau chorus or the Arturia June 6 are fantastic for putting over those string machines. They sound really good. And then you get like that nice stereo spread.
Yeah, absolutely. Jamie makes a good point in the chat room. He says, I love string synth, and of course this is Eurorack compatible, which it absolutely is, as is demonstrated in the video. It's got the power connector on the back, so you can just pop it out and stick it in your rack as you do. And again, Jamie says, slap a bit of chorus and EQ. It'll be good. And I guess that's really, what most people, as long as you get kind of, decent ballpark, then you can just tweak with a bit of effects and get there. I mean, I found that with the 101, when I was comparing that with the original, if you set all the settings exactly the same, it wasn't the same. It was similar, but it wasn't the same. But you just make a few little adjustments on the MS, and you got there. Give or take, a few. I'm sure there was some people that would say, but it was pretty much there. So yeah, that's all we really want, I guess.
That's what I really like about that UHE Repro 1 is when you're messing on the Pro one and you try and recreate the same patch on there, it's so close to hardware. The sound, it's very, very accurate.
Yeah. But interesting to see, and I kind of prefer these engineer updates, I think, than some of the other kind of teaser videos that they do. Because it just, maybe that's just nerdy, but at least...
It's less influencer, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's just like, here is the damn synth, and we're going to play it for you, and we're even going to compare it with the thing that we're copying. or cloning.
Yeah, and another thing too is that they updated the design of it too. So now it's was it revision B or something? I can't remember, but the version that people like better. Yeah. It was, I think, a revision C before, and now they've made it a revision B.
Yeah.
And so that's good. I mean, they're listening, and I know that's their tagline, but at least they are.
Yes, indeed. Well, you can't fault them for that. So that was just the update, and you can view that video on Behringer's YouTube channel. Some other hardware news. This was interesting. This kind of dropped yesterday, and I'm not entirely sure how many people will get excited about this or not, because it is quite expensive, but it is also made by Solid State Logic. And this is they've tried to get me to sign up. There you go. Look, it's the UF8, which is specifically a DAW controller, a DAW desktop controller, 8 channels. You've got lovely LCD strips at the top there. You've got all sorts of direct access and automation functions on there. You can use one on its own, or you can link them together and have that, which would just be lovely. But there's no audio going in and out of this whatsoever. It is simply just a digital audio workstation controller, but an advanced one at that, and can have multiple applications. It costs £999, but it is a very, very lovely thing. And I guess if you are looking for a dedicated controller for your DAW, universal controller even, then yeah, this is kind of top of the line, I suppose. I'd love something like this if I had desk space to fit, a few of them on and a bank balance to match. But what do you think, Cryss? Do these sorts of controllers? Because I'd love to have on here a proper mixer, but don't have the space or the money. And this seems like it, at $999 it could actually answer a few questions.
Oh, it's lovely. It's $1,300 over here, though,
sure.
So I'm going to go ahead and pass on it. But I like the idea of these, and we've talked about it a lot before.
Yeah.
So the one thing that I would have to try to figure out is that you think like, oh, well, hardware is great, and it's always better to have your hands on hardware. And the exception to it that I can think of is that as you're looking at your DAW and you're moving stuff around with your trackpad or your mouse or whatever, with these you do have to kind of look down unless you've already done a look and you're just got your hand on one slider. But if you're actually doing more than one thing, you're going up and down. I'm just thinking about the ergonomics of how this gets used, because when you'd run a soundboard and you're doing mixing, you just got the soundboard sitting in front of you and you're staring at it and you're listening to the music, and you're not looking at the DAW. You're just turning knobs. So I wonder if this would be something that I would enjoy as a part of the recording and mixing process, or if it was something that I'd find a little bit extraneous. I mean, I'd much rather push a fader to find the right volume than to try to sweep on a trackpad, but I don't know.
Yeah.
And I probably don't want to spend $1,300 to find out.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, you know that it's SSL. It's going to be built beautifully. Yeah. It's going to last a heck of a long time. It's compatible. It's this open door policy, so it's compatible with pretty much all the major doors, and I'm sure it will fit in quite nicely with some of the minor ones too. Ben, do you see yourself using something like this? Are you happy with what you've got?
Yeah, I'm murder for stuff like this. I love controllers and things. I love to get away from the kind of visual side of what you're doing. I always find that you'll EQ something, or you'll EQ it because a certain way, because the curve needs to look right as well as sound right, and it's like that can't be right. The curve looks ridiculous. It's like get away from that, and just focus on the actual sound. But I think that like one of the biggest build quality with SSL, but the sound quality as well. So like it's like, oh yeah, I mixed it through my SSL UF8 or whatever it's called. It's like, well, it doesn't contribute to the sound at all.
No,
it's just a surface. But like you said, that build quality and it is a lovely looking laid out machine. I reckon it'd be fantastic to use, and if I was willing to spend $4,000 or whatever it is on the full set, then I'm sure it'd be an amazing piece of kit. I don't know if it's worth that kind of money, but
I guess it's not really designed for the likes of us. I think that's really what it is.
I think
this is for a project studio, for somebody who has, who does this, 6 days a week for a living, and maybe wants something at home.
It's definitely the way it angles as well. That is superb.
But as people have been pointing out here, Mac was saying, he'd rather have a wing mixer and keep the change, or words to that effect. And others are saying, sort of similar things like, there's what's the Behringer X Touch or something.
Oh yeah, I've got them.
Yeah, similar sort of thing. In terms of functionality, maybe not so much in the build quality, but still. And Wagoo's just said here, for that money, you'd like to have motorized faders, but they're not.
They're not.
No.
Oh wow.
I think some of the probably the most interesting things about having channel strips is the sound of it, and that you can do with any software. In fact, I've been recently getting into using different channel strips. I'm really trying to focus in on what I like the best, but I actually picked up one this morning even. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. I picked up the Brainworks SSL, 4000G, because it was on sale, and I got it with a voucher for like $24 or something like that, $25. And their E model sounds fantastic, and as well as the Lindell, which models a Neve stuff. So it's kind of been fun playing around with that. I mean, I've used a lot of actual mixing boards, but haven't spent time on an SSL board. So hearing the differences between them and the kind of advantages we have in this modern age, that we can get a lot of that sound just on our computer. And like I said, I picked up the sound of an SSL board. How much would that cost in reality, and how hard would that be to set up? But for $25, I can run my tracks through that, and my guitars through the SSL-E, and it sounds fantastic.
I think looking at the marketing on the site, it looks like they're expecting this to be used in combination with their audio hardware. And I guess, like I said, if you are looking to set up a small project studio or maybe something at home that you don't need to worry about what you're doing, this is ideal. But it's a bit of a Rolls Royce, this one, isn't it? So but nice.
Is it nice. I suppose it's working off the Mackie protocol, isn't it? Just like this.
I guess, probably somewhere. But you see, that's that piece of gear that you got there. That's got motorized faders, hasn't it?
Yeah, I was just thinking the build quality isn't that bad.
It's
really.
Not that bad. No, I mean,
like all the buttons are quite good quality in that. The faders are a little bit light, but
I gotta say, I'd be kind of nervous to buy one right now for a lot of money, because imagine this is an area where more manufacturers are going to start getting into. And certainly, if nothing else, that Behringer is looking into this stuff. So,
well, Behringer have got their free DAW coming up, haven't they? That they keep threatening, and you might wonder how they integrate that with their stuff like Benn's got. Maybe there's, and then that becomes a whole new offering there, that integration between a free DAW and that. Paul says in here, do you think UAD will catch up and put out a control surface for Luna, which is their DAW? And it's an interesting area to be in at the moment.
That'd be interesting.
There's also the soft tube console as well. That I believe is hardware and software, and a lot less money than the SSL. I don't know what people think of that one, if anybody has any experience with it.
No, I've no experience with that myself. Andrew Walker's just said here in the chat that it does have motorized faders. I'm assuming he's talking about this, but I didn't think it did. I could not see anywhere where it said motorized faders, unless you're talking about something else, Andrew. Because I'm trying to glance at the chat and everything at the same time, but it just says here 100mm touch-sensitive faders. You would have thought that in that section they would have said touch-sensitive motorized faders. But it doesn't, and certainly doesn't say anything about it here. I mean, what is a touch-sensitive fader?
I don't get it. On this, it's basically like if you touch the fader, it activates that channel. But sometimes you don't want to do that.
True.
You know what I mean? You might be focusing on something particular on the screen and want to bring back your bass and drone. So, it's not necessarily the thing that you're focusing on that you want to operate the fader for.
That seems like it should be something easily changeable in software, like you just change a preference.
I think you can turn it off in Cubase, to be honest, but I don't really get the point of it. It's a bit weird.
I'm really looking. I can't see Andrew. I mean, it says on the video, and even the videos on here aren't being very helpful. Let's go back again.
So
Yeah.
Nativius says a touch-sensitive fader mainly means that the motor gets unlocked when you touch it, so that you have less resistance.
Right.
Well,
which
as
is
well.
a nice feature.
Yeah, as well. Maybe that's a better reason for having it than just selecting your track on screen like I thought.
Yeah. I'm not going to go through the. I mean, according to Andrew Walker, he says if you watch the video, you'll see that it does have motorized faders. So
I should imagine it would.
I will take your word for it. I'm expecting that it should have done, but it doesn't say anywhere that it does. So.
Were SSL the first to use the motorized faders?
I couldn't say.
Oh, I'm pretty sure they were.
It's gonna be one of those, isn't it? But
yeah.
Anyway, so there you go. 999 for a UF8 advanced DAW controller. I'd like to see it. I'm going to sit down and watch these videos in depth now. But this one only kind of came out yesterday, or was announced yesterday, and so haven't really had a huge amount of time to.
I think, like you said, though, Robbie, it's a bit like a Rolls Royce of controllers, and we've been going on about it for a while with keyboard controllers. Why doesn't somebody make like a Moog One quality controller? Where it's an actual lovely instrument, and it'll control all kinds.
Yeah,
and that's what SSL have done with this. It's a quality piece of kit, and like you say, it might not be for everyone, but some people it is, and some people don't want a Behringer.
Yeah. Choice. At the end of the day, it's all about choice.
Yeah,
and we have plenty of it. So this next item is this is an interesting one, because I've been saying, mostly to myself for a very long time, that Akai should do something like this, and this came up on Tom's Synth Anatomy site just a couple of days ago, and apparently a bunch of people who kind of hack into software just to kind of see what's going on and see how things work, not for any other kind of nefarious means, discovered a reference to, and this seems to be something that happens a lot in the world of Apple. They discover references to new unknown products or upcoming products. And this suggests that there is going to be an Akai Pro Force 6 keyboard controller workstation type thing. And this really ought to be a thing, because all they've essentially got to do is bolt the keyboard onto, and just, retool the interface and just, lay it out in the keyboard style. That's all they've got to do. So it really shouldn't be a hard thing to do. And it would hail the re-emergence of Akai as a kind of a proper synthesizer manufacturer again, because they did do it in the past many years ago. They did have sampler based keyboards such as the X7000, and there was what was the other one? And then they had the AX and the VX synths.
Yeah. Wasn't that S? There was an. It was like the S1000 in the keyboard.
In the keyboard, and it was the size of a dining room table.
Oh my god, that was horrific looking, that thing.
I almost had one of those for about 150 quid. Somebody was selling one on Facebook, and it was near. I was actually in a hospital waiting room with my wife, who was there for an X-ray or something, and I'm just scrolling through as you do, and I saw this, and instantly I saw the price of it. Right, I said, "Yeah, is this still available?" He comes back, he says, "Yes." He said, "I'm in Ipswich at the moment. You're in Ipswich. I'll come round as soon as I finish at the hospital. I'll give you the cash." And then just as my wife got finished up, I get a message saying, "Oh, sorry, I've sold it to somebody else. He did get in touch before me." I was like, "Argh."
Come on. Yeah, I think it was the S1000 KB, maybe. It looked like it was designed by Stanley Kubrick.
Yes, it was a weird thing. But then, of course, when Akai got swallowed up by what was to be called eventually In Music, and got the Alesis brand, so then they started sharing technologies with Alesis. So if you look at the Alesis Fusion, that contains a bunch of sampling technology, but also if you look at the MPC 5000, that contains some of the Alesis Fusion engines and stuff in there. And the whole debacle that happened with the Fusion looked like it put the company off doing anything like that forever. And now with this Akai software, which if you listen to what Andrew Brooks how he eulogizes about how wonderful it is, and the likes of Ranzi, that these people that we know that have got it and say it's amazing, and Inky as well. They've really upped their game in terms of the software and how it works, and to stick it into a keyboard workstation just kind of makes absolute sense. Of course, this is all speculation. I will just put that out there, and this is this is from Tom Wies's Synth Anatomy page, and we had Tom on the show a few weeks back, and he usually has pretty reliable sources, and he details his sources here, and so at the moment we're just kind of speculating, but this is interesting stuff. Let's see if we can just zoom in on that a little bit there. It might not be the best quality, so I guess this is essentially like a combination of the Force and other Akai things with that central screen in the middle.
That space in the middle is a bit strange, isn't it?
Well, it's the screen, isn't it?
No, not that.
And above here, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's true. It does look a bit odd, but I'm sure, again, this is just, prototypes and what have you. But it really does look a very interesting thing. I mean, is this something that any of you would go for?
I'm not sure what what would be different between that Force and an MPC keyboard. Don't they make MPC keyboards
No, they do MPK controller keyboards.
Oh, right, okay.
And that's it. There's nothing in there apart from the controller stuff. But they haven't done a.
Yeah, so
I think the last.
Well, what's the difference between a Force and an MPC then?
So you got MPC Live and you got MPC Force.
Yeah.
And I don't know, because I'm really not into that, and I'm sure somebody like Andrew or Inky, who are both in the chat room, will provide a decent, short explanation of the difference between the two, while we wait for them to furiously type that out between them.
I love the way that our show is like, it's the juxtaposition to the normal, where the experts are in the chat room, and they advise us.
We're just greasing the wheels. We're just greasing the wheels. I mean, I'm not an MPC guy. I've worked on them because I had to as sound library design, and I had two. I've only got one left. I've got the MPC 500 because I don't want to sell it. It looks so cute. But I had an MPC 1000 and really spent time with that, with the originals firmware and the JJOS as well, and it just didn't gel with my way of thinking. Of making music. I could see exactly why it worked, and I've seen people use them, and they're brilliant. Those people that can really use them do some amazing things with them.
But you come from like an Akai sampling background, don't you?
Yeah, Akai samplers, but not MPCs, which are music production centers.
Yeah, it's not similar kind of operating.
No, I mean, I've seen videos of people that take they plug their turntable in, they sample a phrase from a record, and then they just go in and they're just doing this stuff. They're just, their fingers are blurry. They're chopping it up. They're snipping the sample down, and then like within a couple of minutes, they've got this amazing beat that's just made up of components of this phrase that they've just sampled in, and it's genius. It's absolute genius. I cannot take anything away from that. But it just doesn't suit my way of doing things. For me, it's a different thing. So, what about you, Cryss? Have you ever used MPCs? Would something like this appeal to you?
Probably not, but I would feel the same way as you. Like, I have tremendous respect seeing people use them and how quickly they put a song together from samples. It's really pretty amazing. But I think it would probably appeal more to audio and kinesthetic learners rather than visual learners. So I'm probably out on that. But again, it's one of those things like where you see people use gear that wouldn't be for you, but you have a sincere amount of respect watching them do it. Like, that's interesting. That's really cool what they do. And I did like the visual imagery of that popped into my head as you were talking about bolting a keyboard to an MPC or a Akai sample or whatever. I just pictured like some L brackets and bolts going into stuff, and
well,
I know that was.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was to say when they brought the MPC 5000 out, which was their kind of, this was Akai Japan's. Well, was it Japan? No, it wasn't. This was after, because Akai Japan ended. I think it was the 3000 was the last MPC they made, or the 500, and then after that it all became kind of under, the In Music banner, and it all kind of went a bit wrong as far as the MPCs go. They lost traction. Machina came in, took over that kind of thing.
Wasn't there like a couple of products that were like very, very similar between Elysis and
yeah, there was the
Akai
Miniac.
at the time?
The Miniac, which was, I think that was probably the last Akai synthesizer, which was essentially an Ion, an Elysis Ion,
right?
But it also had the vocoder bit in there as well, with a little gooseneck mic and stuff. But yeah, they when they brought out the MPC 5000, which was the last kind of big MPC before they started back with this kind of new range, that had the Elysis Fusion VA engine in there. So it was a brilliant VA engine. And essentially, they were trying to market it to people, just plug in the MIDI controller and you've got this amazing virtual analog synth, as well as all of the sampling technology that you'd expect from an MPC. And I think it fared okay, but it didn't seem to really kind of set the world on fire, and then it kind of went back. But yeah, it's good to see. I'm just really excited to see this and see if this is a real thing.
Yeah, it will be good. They've been saying in the chat room that Force, Akai Force, it's a little bit like Ableton
in a box,
in an Ableton workstation.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, because they had a whole range of APC controllers, didn't they, that were dedicated Ableton controllers. So I think they've just kind of taken the ideas and blended them together, which is kind of clever. Native VS said in the chat room, because I was talking about the last Akai synth, and I said it was the Miniac, and he said ignoring the Timberwolf. Well, yes, and rightly so. We should completely ignore the Timberwolf. Horrible thing. And there was another one, wasn't there? The Rhythm something. I can't remember.
Rhythm Wolf or something.
Yeah,
It's kind of interesting. I was just thinking about in the guitar world, like samplers are they're not anywhere. They're not anywhere at all. And what has been more popular instead have been loopers. And so looping was a big thing. And as memory increased, then, first it was like delay pedals that would have like 10 seconds of memory or less than that. Back in the 80s, maybe, a second of memory or less. But I remember like kind of towards the late 90s, early 2000s, and loopers got to be really popular as digital memory increased in them. And so then you have multiple loop things. And then you had guitars starting to get, like maybe 15 years ago, into ambient guitar. All of a sudden became a really big thing, where you have these entire tracks that basically sound like synth pads, but it's some dude on a guitar with a lot of delay and reverb and chorus and loopers and stuff.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I mean, there's people saying in the chat. I think Jamie said, if I want a keyboard with a sampler, I'll get a Kronos or a Phantom, and that's fair comment. I guess what the Akai brings is that whole Akai MPC, paradigm and workflow. I've just realised I've still got Cryss on their camera drinking his drink. So it just kind of brings that whole Akai paradigm, which is incredibly popular and still is today. Because let's not forget, you can get MPC Beats, is it the free software as well? So there's plenty of options out there for that kind of stuff. Anyway, there you go. Akai Pro Force 6. You saw it first, not here, but on Synth Anatomy. Yeah, good Synth Anatomy. Always good for some interesting news on upcoming items there. But you can read about it there and how it was discovered to potentially exist through the hacking of the firmware. Anyway, let's move on to, what's the time? So I keep looking, it says 10 past 8, and I think, we've only just started the show, but it feels like we've been going for ages. But no, we're over halfway through. If you have just joined us, this is the ProSynth Network live show, episode 44, on the Friday for the first time. And we seem to be motoring along quite nicely. So let's talk about this now. Cryss, you're going to have to, pull up your chair and give us the info on this one, because I haven't tried this. This is an update to a plugin from Sinevibes. I'm always worried that I'm not pronouncing that correctly, but it seems to be, I guess, Sinevibes. This is Droplet. What's this, version 2? Version 2. Okay, so it's a raindrop delay. It's a mere $29 again, plus sales tax. There is a demo version available, and it sounds rather lovely. Let's have a listen. And I think we get the general idea there. That is rather lovely sounding. 32 stereo delay lines with proportional feedback, scaling, adjustable delay time randomization, and delay output pan randomization, a whole bunch of other stuff. It looks pretty too. Let's be honest. Cryss, you've got this, I believe. Your thoughts, sir?
Yeah, I like it. So I was not familiar with Sinevibes, and I guess they've been around for a while, and they had an entire range of plugins of E1s that are no longer for sale. So they're going through and really upgrading and redoing everything, and that's pretty much when I found out about them. And they've also, I believe, done effects or have had involvement with Dreadbox on the Typhon. Mm-hmm. And so, they've done some programming for some Korg stuff too. And I'm sorry, I don't have any of that gear, so I couldn't tell you what it is off the top of my head. But interesting company. And so I started checking them out as I saw their plugins come out. And so they've got 3 of the version 2 plugouts out now, and they're already teasing other ones that are coming. And so we featured the other 2 on the show already, Albedo, which is probably my favorite. It's kind of this granular delay reverb that is just very musical. They've got Blend, which is a chorus. Highly shapeable. I mean, a lot of times plugins or pedals, they give you like rate and depth, or you might get a mix control or something, but this stuff you get delay time, and you get voice count and all this, how many different delay lines for it. And so they can be quite versatile. And then, of course, this one just came out, and I picked all 3 of them up. Don't do what I did, though, and I forget to use my coupon, because once you buy one of their plugins, they give you a coupon for another purchase, and I keep forgetting to use it. So I hope they consider me their best customer by now.
Yeah, I hope so, yeah.
But they're the kind of plugin that I like the clean layout. It's very modern. I like skeuomorphism if it's done really well. And it can be quite satisfying to look like you're adjusting a vintage piece of hardware as you're in your DAW. But if that's not achievable, and sometimes you don't really want that anyway with like these plugins, a really nice, cleanly laid out plugin that's beautiful and modern like this, it's artistic. Yeah. I know it's just the visual aspect of it. It's not affecting the sound, but I'm looking at this stuff for hours. I want something that looks nice too. But the main thing is the sound. This is like an Albedo, and again, I haven't used this one as much yet because it's new. But these plugins are ones that I typically tend to go for, along with Valhalla Supermassive, when I want something different. I want something that's creative, that's going to take me into another space that's not realistic, for like a Supermassive. And this, you can get some spaces that are strange and really atmospheric. And so, this is a cool plugin. I messaged them on their Facebook the other day and got some very detailed responses back about how their blend algorithm worked, which was really awesome of them to do. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what else they come out with.
Definitely. And all these plugins, I must say, they are for Mac only. And you can actually get all three, the albedo, the blend, and the droplet, with a discount. So $79 plus tax for all three.
That's not bad.
Which is not bad when you think, you know, it's $39 for albedo on its own, blend is $29, and droplet's $29. So if you fancy all of those, you can get a discount. And of course, they do these wonderful plugins for the Korg log protocol. Some of which are, so you do have the albedo over here and blend as well, but we don't have one of these, the one that we're talking about, the droplet, in the Korg format yet. Who knows? But I've got a couple of these in my NTS1, and they are very, very good. Very good indeed.
They seem to be like pretty active on working on their algorithms and updating. And so it's fun because I like the company. I like the sound of these plugins, and it's nice that you're not waiting another year until they're coming out. They're coming out at a pretty good pace.
Yeah. Ben, is this something that do you use any Sinevibes stuff?
Not really, no. But I downloaded the demo of this because I didn't want to pay for it without trying it. And you've answered my question with it being Mac only. I was blown away by the technical ability of the site, because it detected what Mac what kind of computer I had and downloaded the Mac version automatically. I was like, didn't even occur to me that it might just be Mac only. Yeah, it's a great sounding thing. I was messing with it with the Polymode. I had the Polymode going through that, and together it was a great combination. And we was going to mention the simple design. I think it is a nice looking thing. I'd like it to be a little bit more skeuomorphic. I don't know. There's just something about the design that could be a little bit less, a bit more complicated rather. I wish it was a little bit more complicated in its detail, but it sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
So some of the effects I was getting out of it earlier was inspiring. It made me, I wanted to stop testing it and start using it in a purposeful outcome.
Yeah, I'm a fan of the flat design now. I wasn't sure to start with, but because I do like looking at a piece of software that looks like the thing it's supposed to be, and wonderfully 3D rendered. But then, of course, I noticed that a lot of those plugins were excessively using CPU because they were having to do so much graphically as well, and that's not the case for all of them, but certainly for some. Go on.
I was just thinking, a lot of the time, like myself, it don't really. Once I've got used to using it, and I've probably got a controller mapped out for it, so a lot of synths, they don't really get the screen time really now, so it doesn't really matter what they look like to me.
But I think with effects though, I think it's less important that the effects have a skeuomorphic look, and that because we're probably spending, I don't know, maybe we're spending less time with the effects than we are with the synth, and maybe the synth needs, I don't know, it's horses for courses. I mean, I've got synths, just looking at that Polymode, that's very, has the whole kind of design of the Polymode on there. You look at all the rolling cloud stuff, but then you go to the Zen Core rolling cloud versions of the Jupiters and the Junos, and whilst they sound nice and have got all those tons of presets going on, and all the controls are there, really nicely, simple laid out. Got to admit, it's nicer when you've got the real kind of the Jupiter 8 thing on the screen, or the Juno or the JX3P on the screen, and it gives you that sense of actually, that's what I'm playing, rather than the sound. But visuals are all,
I think one of the advantages.
Sorry, Cryss.
one of the advantages of having a very flat and modern design like this is you get the maximum amount of space use out of it because you're not having to simulate anything else. One of the problems that I have with a lot of software, whether it's plugins or even in my OS, is that sometimes they'll put actionable objects, knobs and switches that are so small that you have to really fiddle around to get onto that thing that you want to move, and it becomes difficult. For instance, in Big Sur on my Mac, the notifications updated, and it used to be you could just directly click a button, and that button was, or they had two different buttons that you could click, and they're fairly decent size. Now if I want to get rid of that or have it completed, I have to do an extra action, and it's a very tiny space on the GUI of my computer, which makes it more difficult. Whereas with some flat interfaces, now obviously Big Sur is going flatter and flatter, or Mac is going flatter and flatter, but in plugins it's been a problem quite often where you're trying to find where that switch is, and it's I know maybe I'm sounding like an old man here or something, but it's not that. I mean, I'm talking about things that are very tiny. They're unnecessarily tiny. Like they have plenty of space to make the grabbable part of that GUI easier to use. And so when it comes to plugins like Sinevibes and Valhalla, I at least appreciate I see exactly what's going on right away. And there's some other plugin manufacturers are doing a really great job at this as well, that they make it to where you're not having to fiddle with it so much. You can just get right into adjusting it so you see where stuff is at. You're not having to open up different boxes in the GUI, or you're trying to grab that little slider that's way too skinny to try to drag it down.
Yeah, sure. But anyway, there you go. That's Droplet Sinevibes Droplet plugin. It's raindrop delay plugin. It is available now for its version 2, $29 plus taxes. There is a demo version. It's for audio units and VST3s for Mac OS 10.9 and above. Shall we do let's do the weekly poll discussion. Let's get that in there now. We've got a few other little newsy bits and other things that aren't so important and pressing. Right, let's just call the right screen up. Let's just do this while we're here. So, of course, if you want to donate, our link is there down below. So, where are we? Here we go. I wish they'd name this better. Right, here we go. Facebook.
And just to say, too, that we had very few gear releases this week. So,
yes.
If it seems like we're talking about plugins a lot, is because there's actually been a lot of activity in software this week, but not so much in hardware.
Yeah. And also, we're 2 days short of news gathering because we've had a shorter cycle this week. But it'll, knowing our luck, there'll be some massive news tomorrow, and we won't be able to cover it till next week. Such a thing. But there are plenty of other shows that can pick that up. Right. Okay. So this one we kind of cobbled it together because there was a lot of kind of plug-in news, and we thought, free stuff is always good, and there's so much free stuff now, and so much of that free stuff is really, really, really good. So we thought, well, why not let's use the hive mind and start asking people what their favourite free stuff is. And I threw about 10 up to start with, and there have been others added, but we did ask for people to choose what their favourite free stuff was, and also to give us links. So if you are on the ProSynth Network page, you can find this poll, and there are a whole bunch of links underneath this and some good suggestions that I haven't got round to looking at. I did download one or two and have found some nice things in there. But let's just go through the poll itself. So the most popular free plugin with the most votes this week was the Valhalla Supermassive, and I don't think anybody can really disagree with that. It was followed by Spitfire Audio's BBC Symphony Orchestra Discover version, which is £49 if you want it straight away, or you fill in the questionnaire and wait 2 weeks and then you get a link for free. And it's just incredibly good for nothing.
Do you think I'll get me £49 back? Because it's been well over 2 weeks now.
What, since you what?
Bought it.
What do you mean, get your money back?
Well, I just wondered if, because I couldn't wait, I had to buy it.
Right, well, that's your own stupid fault.
So I bought it, and now I've waited on the other side. So they might send me the money back.
Yeah.
No,
I don't think so.
Okay.
Shortly coming up behind that, just losing by 2 votes, was their wonderful Labs range, which I guess Labs as a concept is one thing, but obviously there's lots of instruments in Labs. I like this one, the fact that it ended up 4th DexEd or DXEd or whatever you want to call it. Dext is another one, yeah. I had a conversation with stupidly long conversation about how to pronounce this, and I said it's DXEd because it's a DX editor.
Yeah.
And he was adamant that it was DexEd, and I think I messaged the programmer, and I never heard anything back. Probably because he's sitting there in France, because I think he's French. So stupid conversation. I'm not even going to know myself.
It's probably the third way, Dex.
Probably that. Yeah. Anyway, coming underneath that, now I threw this one in there because I had to pick one. But Full Bucket Music do a huge amount of brilliant free plugins. Yeah. And I do like their 31, 32 and 3300. So I just kind of it was stick a pin in the board and just came up with that one. But and then the MLVST PGA-X, Disco DSP's OBXD. Then we've got Vember Audio Surge, Baby Audio Magic Switch, Leslie Sandford's Cobalt. That sounds like a nasty disease. He's got a bad dose of Leslie Sandford's Cobalt. Vlad G Limited number 6, Tromine GT, Nils Kawai K1V. I like that one, but only me that voted for that. This one was good. The Wave Warden, Odin 2. I picked that up. I think I've got an earlier version of that. But that's a really powerful synthesizer and really nice looking as well. Crackly Arminator 2, Cherry Audio Surrealistic didn't get anything, nor did Akai MPC Beats.
I didn't see that one. I didn't see the Cherry Audio one. I would have voted for that.
Well, it was too late now. And then Andy Davidson actually said he couldn't fill out all the options, so he basically put a list of stuff. So he concurred with Full Bucket Music. There's some free Yuhi stuff, some free Towel stuff.
Oh, cracking post that.
Yeah,
that was great.
Really useful links in there. And I think that you should maybe bookmark that or something. Can you bookmark Facebook posts? I don't know. I think you can. You can save them. And so if you have anything, of course, feel free to add it on there. But this free stuff is really good. What's your favourite free plugin, Cryss?
Supermassive.
Okay, let me rephrase the question. What's your favourite free plugin that isn't a Valhalla?
Yeah. Oh, that's hard. So I actually made a list of a bunch of the free plugins that I've got, and I sort of like half of them I got over Black Friday, November, December, just a couple of months ago. But some of the other really great ones, I mean, I've used Tal Chorus for a long time. I know Aaron also mentioned it. And then there's been a lot of plugins that are pay for now that manufacturers will sometimes put out for a short time. And so actually what I like better in Tal Chorus now is the Arturia June 6 chorus is really great sounding. And if you like a little more top end, use the Tal. If you want a little bit warmer, use the Arturia. But of course you have to pay for it now. But when it came out, it was free, as well as they released their plate reverb. And I've been checking out some of the bedroom producers blogs, filters and saturator. The saturate seems pretty good. Some of them that I had got for free was the set of Eventide stuff, because I have an H9 Max. Mm-hmm. And so their plugins, what was that, a few months ago maybe December or so, a couple months ago.
Yeah.
They gave all their Max owners all the plugins for the algorithms of the H9 that they had in plugin form, and that's turned out to be a really useful thing. I tend not to go to Eventide first if I've got something else I got better, like Valhalla, but there are some really useful plugins in there. I mean, the classic micro pitch, their shimmer stuff it has a very particular sound that when you look between, like, say, Valhalla and Eventide and Tritic and a couple other shimmers, they all have a different sound, and there's different architectures as to how you do the pitch shifting, where in the delay loop it's at, things like that make them different. But yeah, probably also the Valhalla space modulator is a great free modulator, so chorus and flange, doubling type effects. In fact, if you guys are fans of Tal Chorus, you probably want to go get Space Modulator, because it does some sounds are very similar, but it goes way beyond, and you can do through zero phalanging, all sorts of stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But those are some of my favorites.
Yeah. How about you, Ben?
Well, I haven't really got anything to add, really, because like Cryss, it's Supermassive, probably my most used effects plugin of any, like whether it's paid for or not. I like the Arturia free stuff, the June chorus and that.
Sadly free for a limited time though, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was. They should open it up again, because I reckon it's really beneficial for a company to offer out one item for free, because if you really like it and you use it for a lot of projects, you're going to go back and look at the other. If I'm thinking effects now, the first company I think of is Valhalla now, because of that Supermassive.
Yeah,
because I'm thinking, if this is that good and it's free,
and the paid stuff,
the stuff that you've got to pay for must be absolutely out to this world,
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, the full bucket stuff as well. But like yourself, Robbie, I can't really pick one out. There's also just the Yuhi Tyrell.
Yeah,
that's a good one. And Steinberg not Steinberg, Spitfire Labs.
Yes, yeah,
that's
yeah. I think some of like my favourite ones I already named, but one I didn't put up there was this one. I just remembered this one because this one I really like this because it's just so simple. So when I was a frequent drummer in a band playing 2 or 3 gigs a week back in the 80s, I bought a drum kit from a guy called Mark who ran a shop called Mark's Music. That was a thoroughly inventive name, that was. And I exchanged my old 5-piece crappy Chinesey type thing and bought a Tama Swing Star kit, and it was the most lovely thing. And because I bought this, I think he was just trying to shift it. He said, I'll throw in some rototoms. And in the 80s, if you had rototoms, you were just like you're fucking cock of the walk. You were just
proper cool.
Yeah. So I had these 3 rototoms, and I loved them. I loved playing them live and tuning them at the same time, and it was great. And this guy Alan Vista comes along and has a rototom plugin, which is fantastic. And so here's a demonstration. Very Pink Floyd, of course.
That's great, that though, isn't it?
Oh, it reminded me of what's the Van Halen song that starts that way?
No.
It's off of Fair Warning, I think. Let's see.
But it's got reverb in there. I mean, it's just a beautiful little plugin, and it's completely free of charge. 8 rototoms. And I was as happy as a pig in you-know-what when I found this one. And it's available for Mac and Windows, VST and audio unit, 32 and 64-bit. Everything's covered there, and it is completely free of charge. AlanVista.com, and they're called the Royotoms. I didn't put that in the list, but I love that. I mean, it's just so simple, and that's what I love about some of these things. They're just so beautifully simple.
But they're not trying to make any kind of profit with it, so they can really focus on one job. Doesn't matter if nobody buys it.
Yeah, Royotoms are really, really good. Great fun. I was just trying to think of some of those others that we were talking about. Let's have a look. Worthy of another mention. So we mentioned, I mean, obviously, I do like DexEd because obviously it's a great software version of the DX7, but also it's an editor and a librarian, and I mostly use it with the TX7 module, where it's completely compatible. I just bounce things backwards and forwards. It's so easy to get things in and out. It's just great.
It's fantastic, yeah. It'd be nice if like more emulators could offer some sort of editor function.
Absolutely.
That'd be great.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. And yeah, the full bucket stuff is fantastic. And I think the OBXD, certainly since it went to version 2 last year, is a really great OBX thing. But of course, the BBC, the Spitfire audio stuff is excellent, particularly the labs. There are just so many. And we say that every time we talk about this stuff, we always say, oh, if only we had this kind of quality free stuff when we were starting out. But you know, when we were starting out, computers were 8-bit, and obviously it wouldn't be quite the same. But I certainly, my son, when I set him up with his Mac and Logic and everything, and just went through, I thought, what can I stick on there? It's just like I was going to be there for ages, downloading so much really, really good stuff.
You think somebody would do a recording that was just made with?
I'm sure they.
Stuff?
Yeah, I'm sure they.
I mean, KVR has competitions. With one synth songs, and a lot of times the synthesizers are free synthesizers.
That's brilliant. Because you can post the link to the synth in your competition, can't you? You know, it's so good.
Yeah.
So here's a question. No, go ahead, Robbie.
You go.
So here's a question for you guys in the chat and for the two of you as well. Like, how do you find out about free synthesizers as you're going about life? So oftentimes we're messaging each other about free synthesizers, but what are the common avenues that everybody is taking to find out about them?
Personally, it's just social media and emails, promotional emails, or word of mouth. It's kind of a combination of everything, or another show that might have just found it. I'm always on the lookout because I do love a freebie.
Yeah, I'm pretty much like limited to what you two tell me and what I hear in the group. Really, you're my main sources. I do go rooting. Synth Anatomy, I think, is a brilliant site for leaks.
Absolutely.
And, early doors stories. And when Tom was on the show, like the show ended and we couldn't shut him up. He loves it, doesn't he? You know what I mean? He absolutely loves it. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of Tom's site, so I go there looking for stuff as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, mainly Pro Synth Network group, great source of information. You too, because you love it.
I've
Synth Anatomy.
So like just news in general, Synth Anatomy has been fantastic, and then everybody that's been posting in Pro Synth Network, and then I've found a couple different places that I've been finding out about plugins, free plugins or discounted plugins, which is oftentimes even more useful. And I'm just pulling up one that's called. So there's audio production deals on Reddit. And I don't let them know that I'm a Gen Xer because I don't want them to kick me off of Reddit. I think that's a millennial thing only. But I sneak on there and I look at what's happening. And that's been that's actually where I probably see most of them. And then also, what is it? Hold on, I'm looking up on Facebook right now because there's a Facebook group, Audio Plugin Sales Deals and Freebies. Is a fantastic place also. It's really a good one. So I have both of those. On Facebook, the Facebook group just comes up in my feed. So like you don't have to do any work. They just show you, hey, do you want this thing cheaper or for free? Yes. And then I have a bookmark for that Reddit group that I check usually at least once a day.
Yeah.
More if I'm bored.
Yeah, I just don't get Reddit.
I don't. I don't get it at all.
No.
Wait,
seems too unorganised. It's just not. Yeah, I like.
So Robert says he's too young for Reddit. Are you younger than a millennial? I have no idea actually. I've only seen like just his hair and the back of his head on his Facebook group photo, so we have no idea.
Yeah, it's funny though. I was looking at this because like my kids, right, who are one's coming up to 17, the other one's 15. If me and their mum starts, back in my day, and they'll turn around and go, "Okay, boomer," and I'm like, I'm not a boomer. You know, but I did look into the way that they categorise it, and I've been calling certain people millennials, and they're not even millennials. There's something else now. It's just, I don't get it. Yeah, kids. Blah. What do they know? Bar humbug. Anyway,
I can't remember what we was on about.
No. This is it. This is it. This is. Yeah. Isn't it? You go downstairs and you wonder why you went there in the first place. You just forget. Anyway, lots of free stuff. If you want to go over to the Facebook page, Pro Synth Network, you can check out that and check out some of the great recommendations there. And if you have any, please do share them over there as well. We are always welcoming that kind of stuff. Lots of good freebies out there. We've not mentioned a whole bunch of stuff, and there are people in the chat room saying, you know, lots of things we just haven't even mentioned, but there are lots. So please, you know, do share.
Oh yeah.
Shall we? Let's. We've got a few kind of this. I guess this is sort of news, but I think it's been news for a few weeks. But I don't seem to remember anybody talking about it. And this one's got to hurt Cryss, I think, because Waldorf have discontinued the KB37 and all of their Eurorack modules, all completely discontinued, and now the price has dropped. The modules have been dropped from 379 to 199. And the KB37 itself has had €300 knocked off from 899 to 599. And then I guess once they've gone, as the advert says. How do you feel about this, Cryss? Because you're a KB37 owner.
Yeah, I was kind of sad about it for other people. You know, I've already got one, so I'm okay. But I think the idea of it is great. And maybe where they missed it was a little bit expensive. So, I mean, I bought mine used and it ended up being, I don't know, like $575 shipped American. So it was pretty reasonable. And it's a solid piece of metal. I mean, it's a pretty heavy thing. It's not that big, but, you know, just to be able to dump in some Eurorack modules, or if you've got a little Behringer synth you can drop in there. So I have a Model D and then a bunch of filters and a few different things in there. And it's such a great idea that I'm just kind of sad that more people aren't taking up that idea, especially as Eurorack has become so popular. That you think that something like this would kind of bridge a gap in a way. And not everybody wants to do self-generating Eurorack stuff. I think it's cool, but I don't do a lot of it. But to be able to use those modules as a synthesizer, like as a mono synth or however you want, you can do whatever you want in there. I think it's such a cool thing. There are some, like a few kind of, I just keep looking at it. There's a few little funky things about the Waldorf one that are a little bit odd. Like they made it 107 HP, which to me seemed like an odd decision to do an odd number. Right. So you're kind of stuck. Like you have to find one of those what are they, Erica Synths 3 HP modules, or a 1U spacer or 1 HP spacer. I mean.
Right, yeah.
But again, I think it's great, and I've got the Model D. You could. I was thinking about putting the CAD in there sometime, and then running it with some different filters, or or if you get something like this where maybe it's not the snappiest of envelopes. You could have this sitting in there with a better envelope generator or something like that.
So why do you think they've discontinued it? I mean, is there anything else on the market that does what the KB37 does? And I can understand if maybe, like you said, more people might want to do stuff without keyboards with Eurorack, and so maybe this isn't as popular. But why stop the modules? Because surely their modules are good.
I've never used their module, so I couldn't speak to that. But Paul says if they priced it at $399, they would have sold many more.
Yeah.
Or bundle it with some modules. I mean, even if they had done $599 on them, I think they would have sold just quite a bit more. But they're just too expensive. Now they and it may be also a case of like it's a pretty hefty unit. I don't know what they weigh, but like when you feel it, it's a solid piece of metal, and so maybe some people felt like it wasn't portable enough. Like so there's room in the market to go, hey, we're taking that idea, but we'll give you an extra octave, and it's plastic and weighs half as much. Something like that would be kind of interesting to see.
Because it's interesting. This has got the same FATAR keyboard as the Cobalt and the Argon 8. That is it TP9 or something? And essentially, all this is, I'm not being disrespectful. It's just the keyboard mechanism with the ability to plug some power and some Eurorack modules, and it's got some controller stuff on the left hand side. It really isn't that much. And so when you think that you can buy a Cobalt for $579, and this was it is now $20 dearer, but doesn't have any kind of sound generating stuff inside.
Yeah. You can see and the stuff they just supply on the side of it is useful. I mean, you get the wheels and an arpeggiator and stuff for some CV type stuff on the side there. So it's a very useful setup. But like you said, it just that's all that it is for. I don't know what are they going for new, or were they going for new? I don't remember, but it was
$899.
Yeah, it's just too expensive.
When you think you could buy a really nice Eurorack case and a really nice 37 or even 49 key controller with CV connections for probably, I don't know, 300.
Yeah, and this is the thing about this is it's like so convenient. Like you're talking about the Akai, like having one of their samplers in a whole big keyboard unit. It's a convenient thing. It just kind of brings everything together. Rather than, I've got a key step, and I think it's a great little controller, but I don't really like lugging around my Eurorack case is not big. I have a Mantis, a tip-top Mantis, but it's kind of a hassle carrying all that stuff together. Whereas I can grab this Waldorf pretty easy and put it under my arm, walk it out to the trunk if I wanted to take it somewhere.
I'm just having a look. Simon has just said that you get an extra discount if you buy directly through another €100 discount on the Waldorf web. But I'm looking at it here, and it's still saying $599. So unless there's something that happens at the checkout stage. But anyway, it's all discontinued. It's all being priced to clear. $199 for the modules, $599 for the KB37 itself. Maybe, as somebody has suggested, that lots of people have been asking companies like Behringer to do something. Here's something that they don't have to clone. They can just come in with a replacement model at a more affordable price.
I gotta say that this Waldorf having that FATAR keyboard is going to just be a lot better than the Behringers.
Of course.
Even the, like monopoly and stuff. Like I know people, those are really great sounding synthesizers, but I've heard that the keyboards are not the greatest. Maybe they're not awful, but they're not the greatest. This is a fantastic keyboard. And in fact, that kind of DSI, OB6, the Cobalt, it's probably my favorite keyboard.
Yeah. But I guess, tell me if I'm wrong, because I'm not a Eurorack person, but is the quality of the keyboard less important for a Eurorack user because they generally don't use keyboards as much as
they seem to
traditional
have adopted
synthesists?
the key step, haven't they?
True.
Everybody's got a key step. Into module, it seems, anyway.
Yeah.
I wonder if they've misread the market a little bit with this one, and just...
maybe they're just trying to focus their efforts and their money.
Maybe a Beat Step might have, a Beat Step Pro with the modular interface on it. That might have been more successful. I don't know whether the modular gang are that bothered about your Rick Wakeman style playing skills. They're more interested in sequences and what have you. So maybe that might have been a better route.
But I think maybe more traditional keyboardists would get into modules because the sound of them, there's some really great sounding modules, so some great sounding filters that are fun to experiment. But if you don't want to have a case full of stuff and you're just like, well, I want to have, some, maybe some Dreadbox filter or some oscillators, and you want to have I know Aaron has done this and I've done this. Probably Jamie has as well, like where we have a little more of like a monosynth mindset about it, like a traditional keyboard mindset, but then you've got this bevy of filters to experiment and have fun with. You're not doing, as much self-generative modular ambient stuff. You're playing it like a keyboard, but to be able to have that modular aspect of it in terms of, I want to try Moog oscillators with a Polyvox filter or a Roland filter with there's all the combinations are so fun. I mean, especially as tone and gear nerds, that's where a lot of my fun with the Eurorack stuff happens.
Yeah. Oh, well, there you go. They've made their minds up. They're doing it, and that's Waldorf getting rid and saying goodbye to the KB37 and all the Eurorack modules. As they go to Waldorf's website, and you'll be able to pick them up at the discounted prices. Right, we've got about 10 minutes. I've got 2 or 3 things I want to cram in. This is the first one. So I was watching Sonic State, as I do every Wednesday, and they were talking about pedals or something, and Nick held up his Zoom multi-stomp, was it the 70CDR, which is this lovely kind of all-in-one. I'm seriously I've been thinking about it for a long while, of getting it, because it's just like chorus. The CDR stands for chorus delay reverb. It's like all of those algorithms in there. And he said, I've hacked this. There's a hack that you can do that allows you to upload pretty much every Zoom effect algorithm from all their other pedals. So there's a bass version of this pedal, there's a guitar version of the pedal, there's the G1s, and there's a whole bunch of other stuff. You can now install them if you hack this. And I thought, where does this go? And it was very easy to find. There was actually this video that I found by a German guy who goes by the name of Shoegazer. And this is kind of an amusing little video. It's 10 minutes long. I won't show all of it. But it's kind of a clever little thing that he's done, because the person that's come up with this is Russian.
Firmware update version 2.04.
Okay, and he goes through and he makes out that he's being hacked by somebody in a mask, telling him how to do this. And you watch this; it's kind of amusing. It's kind of a well-made thing, but it does explain exactly how to do this. And what it does is it then sends you to this website. It is a little bit suspicious, I guess. When you go to there, you have to go to this forum.
Why doesn't it just give you the link?
I know, yeah. So let me just try and find the right... here we go. So it goes to a forum for ToneLib. Now, ToneLib is a piece of software that you can use to manage all of your algorithms on your Zoom pedals. And this guy called Boris has put this up here, and it's a link to a drive.google.com. And you can download a thing called Zoom Effect Manager 1.1.0. You download that, you install the firmware, and then you are able to use this software to upload as many of these. I don't think you can get them all on, because there's just not enough space, but you can get as many. You can pick and choose which ones you want. And it works. It literally works. There's no downside to it, and it looks like you can just pick and choose any time. You can take some off if you don't want and put them back on, and it just seemed an incredibly great way of doing this. And that pedal itself, I've seen it advertised for less than £90 brand new, and you do that and you get this for free, and you've got hundreds of effects algorithms at your fingertips, and it's just, I thought it's too good to be true, but it doesn't seem to be so. Do any of you guys own this pedal, or would something like this interest you?
I don't own one, but I do have a product that would be similar in its idea, and that'd be the H9.
Yeah,
but obviously the Zoom is a lot less expensive, and they're giving you tons of effects and models. Like that video showed quite a view, was 100 and something, as I recall.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff, and I don't think you can get them all on at the same time, but you would just pick and choose the ones that you want. Yeah. You can demo them, and if you don't like them, just swap them out. And it's,
but that's useful anyway, because it can kind of, you limit it to the ones that you want to have on there. You don't have to scroll through anything else.
Yeah, and the only downside that I saw was that once you've installed this custom firmware, the ToneLib software doesn't recognize it, and so you can't then, because with the ToneLib software, I understand you can create kind of sets of stuff that or you can fine tune all the settings for all the algorithms that you have on there, and then just kind of instantly recall them in the hardware. So if you can get around that, that's not too much of a problem. This got to be good. Ben, have you got an MSCD?
I haven't. No, I haven't had Zoom effects for years. I always remember them being a little bit like below par. They were a bit noisy and didn't sound that great. But when I was watching, looking into this, it seems as though like the quality of the equipment has really improved over the years.
Well, the guy in the video said, I know it's kind of done very tongue in cheek, but he was talking about that some of the models that he's been able to put in there. And he says, I've got the real thing. He said, in fact, there was one DI box that he said, I've just bought this because it's really good. It does this, and it was used on whatever.
Yeah, Sans amp.
Yeah, and now he's got this thing, and he said, it's kind of made this redundant. So, yeah it's
the video was great as well, wasn't it? The way he did it.
Yeah.
That could have just been. It could have just been a screen capture thing with his picture in the corner. Dead boring, telling you how to do it, but it was entertaining as well. Always disappeared. Oh no, he's like.
And the guy his name was something to do with shoegaze.
Yeah.
Right?
Sorry about that. I had to let my cat.
Talked about some My Bloody Valentine, which was interesting. If you guys know anything about My Bloody Valentine, man, when I saw them live, they had a ton of pedals. Like, it wasn't set up on the stage. It was like on the side of the stage. They just had all these pedals laid out that they had hooked into their rigs.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, I always like the look of the CDR70 because it's this like all-in-one unit that gives you the 3 core FX that I could then just take and plug in to a synth and get chorus, delay, reverb without having to feed it through. And it's just instant gratification. And then this has just made it so much more appealing, to the fact that I can load all of this stuff on. And anyway, I just thought that was really interesting, and it's free.
I think that the H9 really helped this market out. Well, actually, the M9 and the H9. So there's been a number of pedals that have been trying to work towards this kind of idea of having multiple algorithms, just one at a time. And I remember Line 6 did several like multi-effects that were not menu driven. They were basically like blocks of pedals together. They had a small one that I had for a short time that had maybe like 6, I think, on there. And then later they came out, I think it was called the M9, that was just one effect at a time. It was basically like an H9, but everything was already in the box, whereas the H9, you've got all your algorithms. And of course, TC Electronics did something similar with their tone print.
Yeah.
Although maybe not quite as elegant as like the Eventide stuff. But I always thought when I saw it, there was another company too that you had an app that you could load stuff in there, and it had a browser of pedals, and I don't remember who it was, if it was somebody like Zoom, but it's a great idea, and I'm kind of surprised there isn't more of that stuff on the market at different levels.
It's just almost, if you take the VST technology and you take Korg's open architecture and then this like way of just updating your firmware, if it was like standardized and opened up to like third parties, it'd be like, you can imagine it in the future, you're there with your Dave Smith synth and you say, oh, that sounds nice. So I've got a Valhalla reverb installed in this one, like it really goes well.
Yeah.
Like the ability to be able to add something to your hardware, take it out live, and it to be tailored specifically to you is a great potential.
You know, Moog did their own effects for the Moog 1, but then they have in the Master Effects all Eventide stuff. And I've been saying since day one, wouldn't it be great because this thing is so powerful, not only in the analog synthesis, but also in the computer that runs it, like to be able to load in your favorite effects. So, you know, get the Eventide reverb out of there and get me some Valhalla in there or some Strymon or something.
Well,
I think, maybe it's going to take, you know, one of these effects companies to do a deal with some of the hardware big boys or even the smaller ones and say, look, you know, here, there's some space in this machine that you can then just customize your own, you know, effects content in there and make, you know, essentially make that synth your own version of that synth. But yeah, it's really interesting, and I'm really, I think I'm gonna lay down some money in the next few weeks because it's Ben will know what I'm talking about. Over here we have a thing called council tax that we pay every month, and it pays for all your kind of local public services like local policing, local waste collection. No, I'm happy to pay for it. The way it's worked out is slightly odd, but anyway, so we pay this, but it's like an annual fee, and then they divide it into 10, and you start paying in April, and your last payment is in January. So February and March you have a holiday. You don't have to pay any of this council tax. And so I then generally use that money to go on an early spring splurge. So maybe that's going to be in that one there. Anyway, we are really we've just gone over time here. I want to get these two things in. We're not going to dwell on these. There's just a couple of things that I found on YouTube that I think are worth watching. So I've become a huge fan of this guy. His name's Ben Jordan. Ben with 2 N's, which is odd. But he's done a Polybrute, and I don't want to call it a review. It's kind of like an appreciation. It's an 18-minute long video, and it starts off with this wonderful footage. I don't know whether this is stock or whether this is something, because Ben's also a camera guy as well. And he's done this, and then if I skip forward, he's then also blended in... where is it? I'm just trying to find it. Here it goes. So in this footage, the Polybrute is in there as well. So it's some clever video editing, and all the water's running backwards, but all of this music you hear is the Polybrute, and then Ben eventually appears in this thing, and he starts to tell the story of the first synthesizer he really fell in love with and spent countless hours and lost time with. And he does it in his own very soft, kind of gentle voice. And I won't go into huge amounts of detail, but it's just so well executed. It's this kind of demonstration, it's a review, it's a slight tutorial, it's storytelling, it's really nice visuals, it's really nice audio, and I just sat there watching it, getting a huge man crush on this guy and a huge crush on the Polybrute because he made it sound really, really, really nice. Now, I know, yes, it's only 6 voice, but it just sounded so nice. And having watched all of Mark Doty's stuff, which was very technical and really enthusiastic and great, this just kind of sold me. Did you guys get that feeling from this? No? Okay.
Yeah, it was a nice video. It was a nice video. I had, like, you know, sorry, I was following a little bit of the chat because,
sure.
You know, Simon and I have a running joke that we both really love the Polybrute, think it's fantastic. I really want one. And then they just there's always that one thing, they pulled a Roland or a Yamaha or a Korg, you know, like, you can have everything. This you can modulate everything, and you've got this Morphe thing and all the Matrix and all this kind of stuff, but we're going to screw you by 2 voices.
Well, look, I've been speaking to Arturia as I do around this time of year, and there is a small chance that after this kind of first tranche of reviews come in, and they've got some of them spare, that they might actually loan me one for a little while. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed because I'm getting a serious boner for this. It's gone 9 o'clock. It's past the watershed. I'm seriously excited about this, and I know 6 voices, but I'm not a great player. I think it sounds great. But anyway, the point
I don't
was
have a problem with the 6 voices.
No.
I think so. Yeah,
I will wait until I've tried one, but to pass. I mean, I think I said initially I was with Cryss that 6 does seem to be a bit mean. They could have gone 8, but we'll see. But I love the video. I posted it in the group, and I've got really gushy about it. But I've watched it countless times, and I've watched it with headphones on in the dark. It's just so good. It's such a really great video as well. Forget the instrument. He's very cleverly made that.
You liked all the reverb, didn't you? Yeah, that's what sold you.
Yeah, that's it. That too. But
on his voice.
I mean, it was just little things like that. He's clearly, he's tried to give this impression that he's in this dark cave. It's just such a well done video. The other video that is not so exciting, but I thought should be seen, and I won't go into again huge detail with this one. There's a new demonstration video of the Uno Synth Pro, but there's also this, which is an interview, which is, apparently is only part of an hour-long interview with Dave Rossum and Dan Parks of what is now SSI, which is the new version of SSM. So the words are different, but the principles are the same, and they're making lots of chips again, and the filter chips are used in the new Uno Synth Pro, which is interesting. But there's a new demo video of that out, and that sounds really good. But this is from a historical perspective, this is a great conversation with Dave, who has a very awkward seated position there with his hands behind his back, and Dan as well, and Erik, of course, who is a bit of a legend. So I just thought I'd throw that one out there. That's a really interesting one to watch, and hopefully there's an hour-long version of this to come. So fingers crossed. There we go. Anything you want to add to that, guys, before we say goodbye?
Not me. No, I'm fine.
How do you think we've gone on a Friday? We've done well numbers. I mean, we're no different. We've not lost numbers. So
it's great to see everybody in the chat and having some fun with everybody on a Friday night or Friday afternoon for me.
Yeah. And Sunday's going to be odd because I'm going to be sat downstairs in the evening, just like, I'm supposed to be doing something.
We had it on our list. We had it on our list, and we have forgotten to talk about it. But Andrew has reminded me the February filter sweep.
Oh, yes. Tell you what, because I know some people are still adding to it, and it is February filter sweep. Maybe we'll do a thing maybe next week or the week after as we get towards the end of February, because I know people are still adding to it, and we'll do like a compilation of like the best ones. Maybe we have a poll. No. We have a poll on the group who did the best filter sweep.
Oh yeah.
Maybe we could even rustle up a prize from someone. I don't know. Well, let's see what we can do.
I'm going to vote for Spitfire Audio on that one because I'm sure this will all go really well.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Well, I think the prize should be Cryss's Moog 1.
Yeah. All you got to do is pay for the shipping. Indeed. Anyway, maybe we'll get Spitfire Labs to donate something.
Yeah.
You weren't 5,500 miles away.
He's measured it as well. Anyway, guys, look, thanks ever so much for your company again. And to everyone in the chat room, ladies and gentlemen in there, thanks ever so much for joining us and for supporting us on our new slot. Please let us know what you think. I mean, obviously the show format hasn't changed, but let us know what you think about the new time slot. And I know that it doesn't work for everyone, and hopefully those that can't make the live show will catch up later on and leave comments in under the video and tell us on the Facebook group and everything like that. So thanks ever so much, and don't forget join us on the Facebook page if you're not already there. And if you do feel like you want to donate, which is always, we're very grateful, and we're going to be using some of that money to do a bit of promotion work and maybe improve a few other things. It's not going to waste. But if you want to donate, the link's just down there, and we'd be incredibly grateful. But for now, that's everything. That's our first Friday show done and in the bag. And thanks again to everyone for showing up. It's absolutely brilliant. We hope you enjoyed it wherever in the world that you are. We will be back the same time, same place next week. That's Friday, 7 p.m. UK time. 2 p.m. on the East Coast and 11 a.m. on the West Coast. Blimey, I got that right first time. How good is that? Have a great weekend. Now you can go off and enjoy it and don't have to worry about staying up late on a Sunday night. There's the benefit. Take care, everyone. We'll see you all soon. Bye-bye.